Good morning to everyone. It's week 3 of a migrant's journey. It's surprising to see. I mean, we have already done 11 episodes. Such amazing response. Thank you for each and every one of you for watching this, and each and every one of the interviewers for being a part of this. So, those who are watching this for the first time, this is a migrant's journey, a place where I document different stories to give you a reality of or a reality check of what actually happens here when you come here to job search. It's not always easy. Some people do it right, some people do it very wrong. So the idea is you are better. The more prepared you are, the better placed we are. So again, welcome. Good morning. Sorry, it's a Monday morning. I'm just trying to get back to things. So that's the reason I'm a bit slow over here. But if you're watching this, please, and if you haven't watched my previous episodes, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can probably binge on all the episodes if you want to. And if you're watching this live or even watching the replay, please leave some comments on LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever it is, because as I always say, the more noise you make, the more people it reaches to, and the more happy I am. So that's the reason. Today we have a special guest with us. We have Marion with us. I mean, her story is particularly interesting. She's into UX design. She's a product designer at MYOB, but her story is particularly interesting because she came to Melbourne on a tourist visa, and she managed to get a sponsorship over here. So that's something very interesting. That's something I get a lot of questions on. So let's get onto it. So welcome, Marion. Good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, Vinesh. Yeah, it's super early for me. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm good.
Super early for both of us. So yeah, we made sure that we had a conversation before we started this, so that we both are in the right mindset over here. Otherwise, we just I don't know. Yeah. So let's get straight on it. Marion, who are you? I mean, what do you do? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Germany, and in the last 4 years before moving to Melbourne, I was living in the UK, in London. I'm a user experience designer, as you mentioned, and I'm working as a product designer for MYOB now here in Melbourne. And yeah, my professional career spans for like a decade in digital design and user experience design.
Hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
So
So
that's basically
let
me.
let let's get right to the beginning. Yeah, I know you didn't do any preparation or you didn't decide before you came here, but what prompted your move to Melbourne, and at what point did you decide that hey, you like this place and you'd like to stay here longer?
Yeah, so I really, really love London. And when I was there initially, I didn't think that I'd leave. But then, how things change over time. And it has been 4 years. And I was like, it could be time for something new. And I wanted a career break. That's how it actually started. So I was traveling for several months. And the goal was to end up in Australia and to see how things go.
Hmm.
And I had never been before
Hmm.
in Australia. So the the idea was there that we might stay long term, but having never traveled there before, I didn't make that decision.
Yeah.
No proper commitment to it yet,
Hmm.
because obviously I wanted to get to know the country first, and then Melbourne specifically first. People who know me well and who know Melbourne were like, the way you love London and what you love about London and the industry that you're in, you like it there.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool, but that's just other people's opinions, so let me just have a look.
Yeah.
And so I was on a tourist visa when I arrived here and just wanted to get to know the city, the people, the industry, to see how the vibes are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, liked it. So there are
What
lots
did
of
you particularly like about Melbourne?
it's vibrant.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pre-COVID times
Mm.
when I arrived, so there was still a lot going on, and there were still lots of food festival and street art is here everywhere, and you have lots of great culture stuff going on,
Mhm.
and you have amazing food opportunities, and it's
Food,
great.
food,
There's a
food
lot.
is great.
Food is always great, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's amazing to be here. People are super friendly and nice. And what I'm also really looking for usually is to have industry events.
Hmm.
I like going to things in the UX community and being part of that community and just keep on learning, keep on growing. And
Hmm.
so I was looking out for these things initially.
Yeah.
because I had no professional network here, but also no social circle at
Mm-hmm.
all. Didn't know anyone here, so I just wanted to go and meet people who share the same interests that I do,
Yeah.
to have those meaningful conversations,
Yeah.
about my job.
Yeah.
I love my job. I love working, and it's just, yeah, something that I like talking about.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see how is the UX scene here,
Mm-hmm.
and would I feel comfortable staying here long term? And there's a lot going on. So there are lots of meetups, and there are a lot of events in
Yeah.
that space. So that made that
Yeah.
decision pretty easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you started with getting in touch with people in your domain and understanding what's happening over here. So coming to your job search journey, I mean, I'm not sure. Was there a start point, or did you start doing something specifically to get into the job market over here?
Good question. It's pretty fluid. So I arrived in Melbourne like 9 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
but the first 6 months of that was more just exploring. I was in New Zealand for a while, came back to Australia. I was in New Zealand again, so I was still really in that traveling
Mm-hmm.
mode, career break mode, right? So I was just exploring. Um, but all the time throughout that, I was still going to those industry events and just meeting with UX experts and just talking to people, and also just getting to know the market. So I arranged for some coffee meetups with leaders in the space who were super open to help. You just
Mm-hmm.
had to ask, and they were happy to talk to you, which
Yeah.
is amazing and not expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, really appreciated that. And they just told me about the industry. They told me about the companies to look out for and who are really known for the good approach in UX and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was super helpful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always surprised by how helpful and how friendly people are here in Melbourne, especially. You just have to ask. You just have to ask nicely, and yeah, and they'll come for you. But I think the point is to ask nicely as well. Just don't jump the gun and yeah. So you always knew that visa would be a hurdle. I mean, did you hear any rumors floating around? I mean, when you started to job search, that you can't find a job, sponsorship is really hard because I think particularly in Australia, unlike other countries like US or Europe, it's a bit harder to get into sponsorship. So, what were your what was your analysis? While you was job searching.
Yeah. So being from Europe, I mean, from Germany, it was super easy to get a job in London.
Hmm.
Super easy. That
Hmm.
is before Brexit. I have
Yeah,
no idea how it's going to be in the future.
yeah.
But coming here, I was aware that I would not have work rights when I
Hmm.
arrived. That was clear from the start.
Hmm.
And the tourist visa doesn't provide that. And yeah, so my research didn't go much further than that. So I
Hmm.
knew I would have to get company sponsorship if I wanted to stay long term. But as I said, that wasn't initially what I did. I didn't
Hmm.
just go and apply for jobs. I
Yeah,
didn't apply for a single job.
yeah.
But yeah, what I looked into was, I did speak to a migration agent just to
Hmm.
check as well if that is indeed the only option that I have for visa
Hmm.
sponsorship. And I think that's it's good to speak to someone who knows those things.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but whenever I spoke to people in the industry and then mentioned like, yeah, I'm on a tourist visa, so I don't have work rights at the moment. Just checking out how things look like here.
Hmm.
They were like, oh, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like basically the feedback I got from everyone initially was like, yeah, that's not really possible anymore.
yeah, yeah.
So in the last 2 years, it has been made that much harder.
Hmm.
Even it was never easy, but it was made that much harder by the government because people need to fulfill certain requirements, not just the person applying, but also the company.
Yeah.
And apparently, visa sponsorship is
Hmm.
really complicated. And I got that feedback repeatedly,
Yeah,
and that is disheartening.
yeah,
Let me be
absolutely.
honest. It's not a nice thing to hear because I mean, I'm enthusiastic about my job, and I was like, okay, I had an amazing career break. I want to get back into
Mm.
it, and I like this place. I'd like to stay, but that didn't sound great.
Yeah,
And my recommendation for that would be to not listen to people who are disheartening
yeah,
and just listen to the positive voices because they are there. And
yeah,
the sooner as you start focusing on that, the better it is for the mindset and how you approach things.
absolutely, absolutely. So, what are the positive voices here? Because especially when it comes to sponsorship, I think it's super hard, just like you mentioned. It's not impossible, just that it's super hard, and you have to do a lot of right things to get into it. For one, your advantage was that you were here in Australia, exploring and knocking doors, not knocking doors, building that network. If you're overseas, I don't know how you do it, but your advantage was you were here. So you heard a lot of negative voices, yes, but you got some positive advices as well. And so, what would your suggestion be, and what are the things that you have to do to increase your chances at least?
Yeah. I can't speak for everyone, but
Nah,
what I
that's your
did,
journey. Yeah.
yeah, what I did was I'm just genuinely interested in my industry. So I just spoke to people about that.
Yeah.
I told them where I was coming from, what I was doing, and what I'm interested in, where I want to go, especially that part. So just talking about interest, and then they were very happy. So I mean, some people who I really value in this industry here told me straight from the start,
Hmm.
I won't be able to sponsor.
Hmm.
I won't have a job for you, but let's go for a coffee.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you want, because I wasn't looking necessarily for
Yeah.
a job at that stage. And I was like, oh my God, yep,
Hmm.
talk to me. And that's great. And a lot of people were like that. And a lot of people were just like, yeah, if you want me to, I can have a look at your CV. And yeah, if you want me to, I can give you feedback on that. Or
Hmm.
um, just what do you want? And just talking things through with me, and then recommending
Hmm.
companies to me where they see me as a fit. And I'm literally working in one of those companies now,
Yeah.
which is great,
Great.
So it was just talking to people about that. And as soon as people start opening up to you more, you realize it's not that difficult.
Hmm.
It just depends on who you speak to. And I everyone, I guess, gets approached on LinkedIn quite a bit. I keep my LinkedIn profile up to date and relevant to the industry. So you get recruiters messaging you and asking, yeah, I have this client and you
Hmm.
look like you could be a fit. And I always responded straight away with, hi, I'm in Melbourne on a tourist visa. I currently don't have work rights. Is your client set up to sponsor for the right
Yeah.
candidate? And because I don't want to waste their time, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
So I just was always very upfront with this. And then I usually got back the answer like, no, hey,
Yeah.
sorry, good luck. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But there were some people who were like, oh yeah, for the right candidate, we are able to sponsor. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is a different story then. And I did have conversations, and that's actually the route I went down for the job that I have now.
Nice.
It's just, for me, LinkedIn really worked,
Hmm.
and I let my profile kind of work for me, and I made sure to follow the companies here in Melbourne that I'm interested in, and the industry leaders that I spoke to on this event. So it was followed up with them afterwards on LinkedIn. I
Hmm.
comment on their posts. I put out some posts myself to be
Yeah.
visible. Those things for me really made a difference, I would
Yeah.
say.
I think, I mean, I've seen a few of your posts as well. I mean, those kind of made a big difference in your visibility, and that's what I say to everyone. I mean, you can't just apply online and expect people to sponsor you. That's not the way it works. I mean, they have it's a really hard process. So if they have to choose you, you have to earn that. I mean, even before they interview you, you have to have some credibility, and you have to know people, and you have to earn that trust before they even think about, hey, I could sponsor this person, right? So that's where the foundation has to be built. Did you have any? This is some question that I actually asked to everyone. Did you have any bad experience or something that was totally different that kind of surprised you over here?
Hmm.
Hmm.
It surprised me how different people reacted when they heard that the only way for me to stay in Melbourne would be with a company sponsorship.
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of people were immediately very apologetic or defensive, or just shying back from the conversation. So that's
Yeah.
why it makes you feel a bit awkward if that comes up, that topic, because you're like, okay, people really don't want to talk about this. So that
Yeah.
is interesting. But it's mostly people who don't have the experience with this being possible.
Mhm.
So a couple of people who don't have any of that experience themselves, who are not sponsored themselves, recommended to just don't try in Melbourne, just try in rural Victoria if you want to stay here, or go to a different state. You have no
Okay.
chance in Melbourne.
Okay.
So I know someone who got sponsorship somewhere else, but they tried forever in Melbourne and that didn't work. And as I said, it's just disheartening. So I just stopped listening to
Mhm.
that. It's not helpful.
Yeah, yeah. And finally, what happened? How did you get the offer? And if I know right, you got multiple offers. So how did that work out
Um,
in
yeah,
the end?
I was lucky. Yeah, so one route for me worked, which is the networking. So I did speak to people after they presented somewhere. If there was something in their talks or in the panel discussion that resonated with me, I just made sure to go up to them afterwards and discuss that and discuss why it resonated with me and have maybe a question about that. So I just explained who I am and what I do and what my interests are in that field. And then after that, I followed up on LinkedIn and just connected with them with a note explaining again who I was and that we
Hmm.
spoke, and just to keep in touch. And from a lot of those connections came more conversations than on LinkedIn. So that worked really well for me when we still had those in-person meetups that I'm
Yeah,
currently missing a lot.
looked like a distant dream now.
Unfortunately, it
Yeah.
does. So yeah, it was definitely great timing for me that I could go to all of these meetups and then follow up afterwards on LinkedIn. And that led to some coffee meetups, as I said. And one of those coffee meetups led to me speaking to the head of the design department, got an interview, and that just worked.
Mm.
So that was one route. And the other route, as I mentioned earlier, was via just LinkedIn directly. So
Mhm.
just being yourself on LinkedIn and being authentic and sharing who you are and what you do and what you want to do next helps people understand that,
Yeah,
because how else should they know if they just see your name and profile picture maybe.
yeah.
um, so that worked for me, I assume, because somehow I was found and I was approached by an internal recruiter, and I asked my initial question, like, would you be open for sponsorship?
Yeah,
And they were like, yep,
yeah.
we can sponsor.
Really?
And then so it always depends on for who. It's not like they
Yeah.
sponsor anyone, but if it's a match, you know. And then I had an initial call, and then I had an interview, and then I had another interview, and then I had an offer, and it was super quick.
Mm.
And I appreciate that as
Yeah,
well
yeah.
a lot, if you don't have to wait forever. And then the visa takes a
Mm.
while, and
Mm.
there's a lot to organize, and you have to really plan that better. I'm not a planner, so
Yeah,
it's a long process.
yeah.
So I was again incredibly lucky that my visa did come in just before lockdown. I started my job in
Lucky.
lockdown.
Lucky you over there, I think. So did you go to office just to grab your laptop? Is that it?
Literally.
So you haven't met any of your mates yet?
I mean, I met a few people during the interview process
Yeah.
and before I actually officially started. So when I was waiting for the visa, and yep, then I went to the office, got my laptop and everything I needed, and went home.
Brilliant. That
Yeah.
sounds interesting. So that was a really useful story. I'm sure a lot of people would get a lot of input from that. Would you have any advice for people who are looking for sponsorship over here? Either here in Australia or from overseas. From your understanding of how the process works, what would your advice be?
So I didn't do any of the planning
Hmm.
beforehand. Just that's how I am. But I would suggest, if you are interested in a specific city or if you're interested in a specific industry, just mm, research that a bit.
Hmm.
Follow the companies that you're interested in, because it's good to see. I mean, on LinkedIn, just
Hmm.
follow them until you know what they're up to, and maybe follow a few of the UX leaders, experts in your field. So whatever your field is, and start conversations. It can just be that you share your opinion on a post of theirs. When something is resonating with you, and you are an expert in that field too, and you can have a conversation about something, just do it. It's awkward. It's definitely awkward to start
Yeah,
with. It's also awkward to go to meetups in person and then
yeah,
walk up to people and have a conversation. It's not
absolutely.
necessarily something that comes naturally to me. but the more you do it, the more you actually enjoy it. I
Yeah.
think it can be a lot of fun, and especially when you sometimes see the other person being relieved that someone's starting a conversation because that's what they're here for as well,
Yeah.
right? So I'd definitely recommend just put yourself out there,
Mm.
digitally and physically, if possible.
Yeah, right now I think digital is the only possibility, but I hope things get
Yeah.
better soon. So, you, Marion, was part of my one of my network walks, I think, and one of my meetups. So, what did you think of it? I mean, how did it change the way you felt at that point of time? And what did you think about the whole environment, the people who were talking there? I mean, I know it was a different scenario as in compared to typical meetups. It was completely different on how the what the people were expecting, the environment and all those things. So, few good things about me, Marion, please. I'll buy you a treat later on.
Not necessary. I followed you already before I went to any of your meetups. So, as I say, it's not really something that comes natural to me just to
Yeah.
go out there. So I took my time to actually join. So I followed you, and your story inspired me beforehand already. So that is why I started posting on LinkedIn. You know, your story is
Oh,
why I
thank you.
started posting on LinkedIn. So because you shared your story and how you gained visibility by doing that, and I
Mhm.
was like, that sounds logical. And it is awkward to start, but
Yeah.
get over yourself. And so then I joined for one of your networking walks. So I always saw that you posted the pictures afterwards, and I also knew that it's just during a lunch break. It's like half an hour long, not too much of a
Yeah,
commitment. And if you don't connect with anyone properly, then you can just go home again, and it's fine.
absolutely.
And that's why I really appreciated that. So we met up in the city center, and you just introduced a few people, and you just were talking to a group of people. So I just spoke to the girl that was standing next to me, just introduced myself. We're actually friends now.
Ah, nice.
It's as I said, I didn't have a professional circle here, but also no friends. And it is just necessary that you speak to people because otherwise that won't change, right?
Yeah.
And everyone comes to those networking events because they want to network,
Mm.
I assume. And if they're it's the odd one out who doesn't want to talk to anyone, fine, then you go to someone else and speak to them. But I think it's probably pretty rare that someone reacts in a rude way or doesn't want to talk
Mm.
to you. Usually people are relieved when someone is talking and making the step, right, and starting.
Yeah.
And I think your events are great for that as well because you very subtly push people out of that comfort zone and make them have conversation. And that is super useful because the first step is the hardest. So yeah, I really appreciate the kind of meetups that you're organizing and how you're doing it because you just come up to two or three people standing together and you start a conversation and
Yeah.
you just introduce them and then you just go away and go to a different group and we just keep talking. It's you do it well. So
Thank you.
yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. I hadn't thought that I was, introducing you guys and going away, and there was something happening here. I mean, but that's all. It's good to hear those things. So, thank you so much, Marion, for your sharing your story. It was absolutely wonderful, and I'm sure people would get a lot of inputs on that. I mean, just FYI, the monthly meetups. If you're watching this live or before July 9th, my meetup, next monthly meetup, it's happening online now, but it's on July 9th. So if anyone is interested to join it, please reach out to me as soon as possible because not many days left so that I can do the prep. So please reach out to me. But otherwise, wonderful discussion, Marion. And if anyone has any questions to me or Marion, please leave a comment on LinkedIn or YouTube. LinkedIn, it's easy to miss notifications, but if you message on YouTube, I'll definitely get back to you, or just message directly to us. Uh, I hope people can connect to you over LinkedIn, or is there a way people can connect to you, Marion?
Yeah, just send me a message on LinkedIn. Tell me how I can help, if I
Yeah.
can help. So let's have a conversation.
Yeah.
That's what works
Please,
for me.
please don't ask her questions on sponsorship, how to get sponsored or how to get a visa. That she's not an expert. She can only share what her journey and how she got through. But any other questions, please leave a comment or message either one of us directly. So I think that's an amazing kickoff for the week. Happy Monday, and hope you all enjoyed. We have at least 10 people watching live now, so that's good for a Monday morning. I'm sure a lot of people will come in again. So, again, if you're watching this, leave a comment, make some noise, and let us know how you thought about this. Before we conclude, anything you'd like to share, Marion?
No, just thanks for having me and sharing my story.
All right. So have a great week, Marion. Have a great good week, everyone. And thanks for joining us today. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thanks, Vinesh.